Okay, and let's see if people can see me or not. I wish I could be there in person in Scotland, but nonetheless, thanks for the invitation to Crossmint and myself and the opportunity to like discuss AI for blockchain, which I think is like it's been like a very interesting field for a few years already, but I think now it's like really taking off with all the advancements in both worlds, like in LLMs and agentic um, coding and programs, and in blockchain itself in terms of like the transactions per second that blockchains can assume and different like advances in the infrastructure underlying. So I've titled the talk Supercharged AI Agents with Blockchain Rails to Power the Future of Economy, which is our actual vision about what's about to happen over the next few years, or even with how accelerated innovation is happening today. It could be a few months, who knows? We're experimenting a lot in the space, especially like tokenizing inventory and facilitating the rails for agents to interact with the real economy, basically. So why do AI agents need blockchain today? You might be asking, like, maybe I don't need blockchain at all because it's like an unrelated technology. But what happens if we go to ChatGPT or like to any other agent and we ask them to buy us a coffee? That wouldn't be possible today because the internet is actually built in a way that is precisely preventing any bot, any non-human activity from happening. This is like the default, and it's the default for good reasons, right? Because basically, we don't want like bots spamming and taking over sites. We want humans to interact with that. Again, if you want to make a payment, you come across as another blocker, right? You will have to put like a PIN code, or you might have to verify it through your phone app or like through 2FA type of security. And again, it's like for good reasons, and we need that till today. But there is an even further challenge, which is like in order to facilitate transactions, all these intermediaries, part of the payment rails of like humans, they're taking a good chunk of the value there. On average, we would say like 3%, although that could be much higher. It depends on like the underlying payment rails, if you're paying with like a credit card or a debit card and so on. But at the end of the day, it's like a costly process. So today, AI is empowered like a new set of agents that are actually intelligent robots, and not intelligent in the sense of AGI. We are not there yet, but you can instruct them on doing things on your behalf. So we see a world where you can ask ChatGPT to buy you a coffee, and that coffee will be delivered to you. And of course, maybe a coffee doesn't make sense, but what if I ask ChatGPT to buy me travel tickets on a certain airline because I'm so busy in a meeting and want an AI agent to handle this purchase for me? We have the vision that this is going to become a reality, and you will be able to ask any AI to do a purchase on your behalf, and they will be able to transact with money. And how do we enable that? So first of all, we have to tokenize real-world inventory. That means creating a digital version at the blockchain level that represents whatever item is going to be sold. So it could be like a ticket from an airline. It could be like a CPG type of product sitting in e-commerce like Amazon, or anything that you can think of. We have to tokenize that first and create the digital version of it for the AI to be able to come and interact with it. And it will make more sense as we go through the presentation. But basically, the second piece is like we have to be able to add limits to the AI agents. So we have to add logic on top of what they do to restrict like the exchange of monetary value that can be performed, right? Because we have seen cases where like this has been tested without any limitations. Terrible mistakes happen. Like a lot of money was lost because the agent could go and start behaving and hallucinating in ways that you cannot prevent from happening. And then we, of course, need like efficient, low cost payment transaction rails that AI can use, and not only humans. The second question would be, why do AI agent developers need blockchains? So basically, to prevent this scenario, right, we need to guardrail how AI is going to behave, and we believe blockchain is precisely the perfect counterbalance to it, because you can build in a permissionless decentralized manner. You can validate hypotheses. Everybody can fact check what's going on in there. And you can also have perfect traceability of what's happening. So basically, like restricting the power of AI, which is also something necessary after this Cambrian eclosion of the technology. So we have human guardrails. We can enable this via on-chain credentialing. So basically issuing a type of credential that the AI will be able to interact with in a programmatic manner that's living on-chain, thereby it's interoperable. So independently of the agent that you are using on the way that you are coding it, you will be able to interact with it. We need cryptographic proof of truth, which is basically what blockchains do provide. And also we need like a framework which is compliant from a regulatory perspective, right? So there are like certain regulations coming in Europe, Mikachu, there are like anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing regulations. You have to adhere like to KYB, KYC, UBOs, and so on. How we believe that can be done. So it's basically using blockchain tooling by enabling agents to interact with decentralized apps, by enabling developers to easily write and maintain integrations with any agent framework, basically creating something homogeneous. We have that with blockchain. We have the payment rails, which could be like stable coins such as USDC, enabling you to transact in a very low cost, frictionless manner across geographies. And then we have other components around that that we'll jump into in a second. The first one will be the smart wallets. So basically creating a wallet for the agent to have a cryptographic identity. So this wallet could custody funds in a compliant way. It could custody assets and it could interact on chain. That means solving the first problem, which is agents today don't have a way to have money. And this might sound like a bit silly, but it's a very serious problem. Right? If I am creating an agent and this agent can't be half on its own, who's responsible with what happens with the funds? Who is custodying those funds? Who is going to be taxable for these purchases being made? If we can create a non-custodial wallet on chain where these assets and funds will be living, we can solve for this problem. So it's not only like security-wise, but also regulatory-wise, we have to have the ability to prove that this is a non-custodial type of situation where the agent is acting on someone's behalf, but with a certain set of rules. Then we can also add like a sponsor gas type of permissions, delegated keys, and permission guys. That means we can add logic on top of the wallet level that will restrict how the agent can interact with any applications. So let's say I want my agent to be able to purchase tickets, but I don't want this agent to, in any case, be able to spend more than $1,000 per transaction. We could add this type of logic at the wallet level to prevent that from happening in any scenario. So even if the AI is hallucinating or if something goes wrong, we will have these hard guardrails preventing that from being the case. The second component of the equation, coming back to tokenizing inventory, is like basically minting on demand. So today, we have a digital primitive to prove that something is authentic in a digital way, which are NFTs. If we can mint on demand any type of inventory, we can bring this inventory on chain, as we were discussing earlier, and thereby making it accessible for agents to interact with that in a seamless way. Then we need agents to be able to pay directly without like going through captchas, without going through like security flows. So we need like payment rails on chain that are API first. If we enable our agent to directly purchase via an API call, they will be able to purchase on our behalf, deliver the services or goods that we are looking after, and deliver basically the money to the other side of the transaction. The fourth component will be verified credentials on chain. This does require like maybe a bit more introduction, but as you might know, verified credentials, they are like a non-Web3 type of a standard created by the Web3 consortium. They are created to create a triangle of trust where you can be the issuer of a credential. Anybody can be part of this triangle of trust if you decide upon that. So they could become a verifier of credentials, and then you have like the users of the credentials. So you can create this standard for digital identity where you decide who gets to access it. So let's say I want to issue a passport. The issuer clearly will be the government. The verifiers will be the police or government agencies, and the users clearly will be citizens. Before, this wasn't possible in a digital way that is homogeneous across entities. Today is possible. The problem here was that before bringing it on chain, everybody will be working on the standard in a different way. Thereby, it wouldn't be like 100% interoperable. So let's say MasterCard might be working on this standard on their own. If they want to bring in Visa and American Express as part of it, that wouldn't be possible. We have brought this standard on chain, thereby making it interoperable, thereby making it part of our wallet type of infrastructure that agents can access and interact with as well. Of course, this is applicable also for human type of transactions, but we believe these 4 pillars are what are going to enable this explosion of e-commerce on chain. So this is how we're thinking about it in terms of the vision and the building blocks. Examples of use cases could be any. So we could create an automatic trading bot that is able to actually make decisions based on AI, and AI developers and engineers will be able to refine these models, and they could set up the guardrails for them to interact on chain and trade and execute trades and create a profit. Another one could be agents that interact with other agents. So we might be coming to a world where, like, in order to exchange value, there might be no humans required. So we might be in a scenario where like 2 agents have to interact with each other. We can now enable on this use case thanks to blockchain technology. It could be an agent that is going to fill up your fridge or is going to do your groceries just because you type to him in human language and you extract them to do so. As long as we can tokenize the inventory of the commerce, connect to the commerce with a Web3 wallet, and instruct our agent via human language to go there and make the purchases that we need on our behalf, that would be possible today. So this is something that we can power thanks to blockchain technology. But it could be anything that we can envision, right? So today, most of the economy happens on a human base. I would say 99.9% of it, besides like some pieces of financial markets that are like fully automated. We believe blockchain is going to enable this next phase of AI agent-based e-commerce and basically transaction. I will pause here. Hopefully that's relevant and interesting. I would love to go through any questions, any thoughts, any ideas. Let me know.
Okay, so how much of this is like a vision, and how much of this only exists as a product that people can use right now?
100% of this is live. So I will encourage anybody to, I can follow up with a link to our docs, test it, experiment, build. It's live on, I will say, 10 plus different blockchains. So you might build on your preferred underlying ecosystem. We're happy to brainstorm. We're happy to experiment, and that's what I would love. There is even a second side of it, which is more of a workshop that I can share with everyone, where basically you can build a real estate type of AI agent. Of course, it's like an staging one, and there are like how to set up your own project type of instructions. Of course, snippets of code to guide everyone. So you can fully test and create, which is basically what we want to enable.
So can you?
The missing piece will be the real e-commerce who is willing to experiment on this.
Very smart person is about to ask you a question.
Hi, thanks so much for the talk. I've recently worked for a privacy protocol, and one of the things that stood out for me is you said that it's very important that what the AI agent does is public on chain. Are you going to enforce that is a necessity? Are you going to prevent your bots from being able to work privately rather than publicly?
Good question. So we have come across this problem I wouldn't say it's a necessity. So for certain use cases, we might want to enable privacy on chain, which, as you all know, is probably non-trivial to be solved. So here we could rely on zero knowledge proofs. So only showing like a piece of information, but not the entire information. Then there is a second piece, which is obfuscating the transactions at the blockchain level, which is even harder, right? Because we could obfuscate the content of these transactions, and we can only enable who we want to be able to decrypt them. That's possible. But then there is the transaction volume. So you could, in a sort of way, trace back all the activity on chain and say, oh, this has to be agentic type of activity because there are like millions of transactions happening. So I think that problem can be solved with certain blockchain infrastructures that are optimizing for this, like CK-EVM type of. But I would say it's a problem to be solved, and we don't have the answer. We will enable anybody to solve for that, and then use our tooling on top of that. So I think there's like an underlying layer.
So I had a question. Who has access to the keys, like the private keys, essentially, that are these delegate keys being used by the AI agents?
Good question. So what we are thinking about, and let me find a slide that goes through this, is that the best way to build for AI agents is actually with the non-custodial wallet. So you can actually create a non-custodial one using signers such as passkeys. So that's something we're experimenting a lot with, right? Passkeys from Apple or Google are an example, but it could be any other. So the private key will live on the device itself that is governing the agent. Passphrases as well that the developer will set up, or lead actions from decentralized lead protocol. But we're open to any type of architecture here. We don't want to be restrictive, but rather like key ideas. And this is a hot topic, right? Like because it has implications both on security, but also from a regulatory perspective. I will say, since this is fairly new, right? Like I think it's booming right now. Like the last few weeks or couple months, Andreessen Horowitz has been tweeting about this like today. So it's very hot. I think we still have to figure it out together, like as a community. But this is the approach that we are suggesting right now.
Okay, and I guess sort of like as a follow-up to that, like right now, whenever you're using your API keys or calling the APIs, I'm guessing that's a centralized service. And so what access would you have, like as an admin of that service right now, right? So would you be able to generate sort of these wallets for another user if you had access to that centralized service?
Good question. So since it's a non-custodial wallet, we wouldn't have access because the architecture doesn't allow for it. Like we don't have access to the private keys, and we never will, because they are either living on a decentralized place, or they are living as part of the passkey in the user's device, or through any other method. And you might also use your own external EOA to generate the wallet. So the signer will be like a completely external EOA, and you still can create the wallets through API and basically rely on our infrastructure. That's one piece of the question. The other one will be, and we also provide, is like custodial wallets, MPC backed, which in that case, you can perform any action on the user's behalf, in this case, on the AI agent behalf. And technically speaking, it will be possible for us to access the custodial wallet. Clearly, we don't want to do that because that wouldn't be good for our business. But that would be the trade-off in terms of like centralizing if you use the custodial wallet option. In this case, we are not recommending for it, although it's possible because of the regulatory implications, right? If you are using a custodial wallet, you're custodying on behalf of the AI agent, and that might still be unclear how it's going to be treated. So we are like very, very, I wouldn't say against it, but we're pushing for non-custodial for AI agents in any use case. I'm not sure if that helps clarifying, but let me know.
Okay, so I have a few questions. First one, this is still early days for autonomous agents on the blockchain, but can you see the emergence of any killer app, any exciting app? And the second question is legal. Is an autonomous agent on the blockchain a legal person?
And my third question is, do you see any, is this like emergent, unexpected behavior? So do you have some notion of like ethics, like, okay, here's my agent, I'm going to sleep, my agent's working for me, and maybe it starts to engage like in deceptive behavior. So how do we quantify what is a ethical or acceptable behavior by the agent?
Yeah, these are tough ones. The legal one, not sure if I should reply. Maybe our head of legal will be mad at me. No, just kidding. I think from a legal perspective, it's still unclear who is like responsible for the AI agent if it's behaving in an autonomous way, and if you are deploying it on chain, which is like by definition decentralized. So, like many layers to be decided there. I think your question around like what happens with some misleading behavior and who's going to be responsible for it and like the ethical implications, I think these are huge. But I think that's precisely why building AI agents or AI for the matter in general on chain does make sense, because we'll have a way to audit it, we'll have a way to trace it. If that's desirable for the use case, there may be use cases where not, as we were mentioning earlier, and we can figure out like technological ways to solve for that. But I think the most interesting point is like smart wallets based on a construction standard are smart contracts by definition. Thereby, we can add programmable logic to the wallet itself. So we could set up a policy on the wallet that independently of what the AI agent decides to do, if they are fully autonomous, if they're hallucinating, we can restrict that. So we could say it's virtually impossible. Sorry, we could set a policy that says it's not possible for you to expend more than XYZ amount of money, or it's not possible for you to interact with this sanction list type of entity, or it's not possible for you to perform this action. And these guardrails are going to be set up on the blockchain versus on the AI code. So I think this is like complementary and de-risking the technology itself. That's our vision.
Okay, anyone else has a question? Okay, no more questions. Thank you so much for your presentation and for answering our questions.
Anytime. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I invite everybody to access the docs and experiment with it. We love builders. We love building. Here to help with anything we can.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.